Awesome. And we are live on Friday afternoon here with the Proactive Funds team again. Dr. Van, Jesse, thank you again for joining us. We're a little bit later in the day today. Sir, Dr. Van, you got an extremely busy schedule. I think you're in Chicago, you're at a conference and stuff like that. So I appreciate you making the time again for us today.
Yes, I appreciate you having me. Thank you. Now, if you see me looking down, I'm just referring to a few of my notes here. I had such a phenomenal last couple of days here. We have an office, as you know, based in Chicago, and also to be at the 2025 MHI NCC Fall Leadership Forum, which is a really big deal. Most of the heavy hitters, industry leaders and decision makers were here. So Jesse and I were talking about it earlier. We've had like 2 or 3 meetings in between. Jesse?
Yeah, no, it's exciting. Being there, right, it's going to be important to obviously make FaceTime with a lot of the key decision makers, right? That's critical. We see a lot of the same faces again across these different conferences that we attend throughout the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's awesome that you guys are attending that. And I think it speaks a lot to the investors out there as well, that the team is really present at these conferences and making a lot of FaceTime. So for everybody out there who's watching or who's gonna probably catch the recording here, I know we're presenting at a different time this Friday, but a lot of deep dive into the concept of impact and sustainalytics and why that is so critical to the Proactive team here. I really want to start high level, probably first with you, Jesse, if you don't mind, just super high level for the people out there who might not know what sustainalytics is, impact verification. Like, why does it matter? Why is that critical? Why is that so unique to you guys?
Yeah, so I would say that what a lot of funds specifically in the real estate market does, but it's probably similar to what other industries, there's just a lot of sort of self-validation of, hey, we're making this impact, we're doing all this good, look how great we are, right? And so outside of like even the impact washing, which gets above and beyond, it's just people will say they do these nice things for society because it might be it would sound good on mission statements, etc. But there's no actual proof that they're actually doing this good, right? So as an investor, all you have is the company's brand name, right? Or maybe some sleek, brochure that they may have published somewhere. Well, what was critical for Proactive is that we have third-party validation, right? We're going to organizations who day in and day out, all they do is validate that this is what companies are actually doing at the end of the day. So the investors that we work with know that when we say that we're helping this number of people, we're investing in this number of houses, which then have all of these positive knock-on effects in the local communities and the broader society. We can point to research that's done by not just a local organization, but typically organizations that have a global perspective on what companies and funds are doing. So it's really getting that validation. I think that's something that's differentiated about Proactive. And last thing, it's not just we went to one shop just to get thumbs up and a check mark. We've gone to all of the major shops, right? So we're looking at Morningstar Sustainalytics, which I know is the topic for today, but we also looked at Blue Mark, Impact Evaluation Labs, right? PRI. These are global oriented organizations that validate what firms are doing around the world, and it really allows us to punch far above our weight.
Yeah, no, I think you hit on a lot of really important things there that make your team unique and what you guys are able to do with the third party validation and how unique that is to this. Dr. Van, I'm kind of curious your thoughts, sir. Again, with the focus on Morningstar Sustainalytics today, Morningstar really is the premier organization in the world when it comes to impact. And to have your fund directly linked and validated by them, what does that mean for you? I mean, how important is that? How critical is that?
It's very critical. Being in this space, raising capital, being, accountability, transparency, verification. I cannot emphasize enough how important that is. In the era of American Greed, that show and people and bad actors and, borderline bad actors. And those who would underreport or overreport or say, oh, yes, we're affordable. However, we're affordable to, somebody 80%, like 70, right under 80% AMI that's working in, whatever. So people use all kind of metrics to fudge numbers and to do things. Morningstar Sustainalytics, we're very proud of that designation, that we've absolutely earned it. It confirms our alignment with ICMA and SDG frameworks as it evaluates our use of proceeds, our impact alignment, and our governance systems. And it also is, hey, is our stamp of approval to go out for sustainable finance, sustainable loans, green bonds, because we have both the social component as well as a sustainable component in our investments, and that's how we're able to have such a robust return. And then, we also, as Jesse was saying, about our verified impact, because we have impact evaluation labs, Terrence Keeley, Robert Brown, Marion Keeley, phenomenal. We couldn't ask for better with impact evaluation labs, them teaching us about, improving our framework, what that looks like, how to go out and be more intentional about what we're doing, the impact. Blue Mark, and then we have our UNPRI signatory status. We're pending OPIM verification, impact principles. And so I'm mentioning all of these other verifications for one, getting back to Morningstar real quick, is we're only one of 2 groups globally on the whole planet. You take the whole planet, and it wouldn't even look like I Am Legend, because Will Smith was there with a dog and he had zombies. So for us, it'd be Proactive and Santander Bank. We're the only two groups on the planet that have Morningstar Sustainalytics reports for affordable housing on their platform, published on the Sustainalytics platform. So we're very thankful for that. However, the other impact metrics tie into that, because it goes additionally to verify our frameworks, as it relates to our impact, or IMM, our impact measurement and management. How are we managing and measuring our impact? What are our inputs? What are our outputs? How are lives changed? What are we doing? How have people, lives been improved because of it? Okay, well, we're 20 to 30% below market rate. And excuse me just going on so much. I'm just excited because I was at the conference. And at the conference, I was talking to the great Sam Landy, who bought a park from us, who bought UMH, who's the head of UMH, who bought a park from us in Orangeburg, South Carolina. And right before I came on to this LinkedIn Live, his regional manager just called me just out of the blue. I haven't talked to her in a while, Mrs. Gail Witten. And she's a phenomenal lady. She's a regional. And she was just thanking me for the, I was just singing her praises, how she's gone into the park that we went into, a dilapidated park that we went into that was on the brink of being condemned. We made our improvements, a ton of social impact. They, took it and ran with it, and they're doing phenomenal things, keeping rents low. They're also 100% affordable. So just like, a lot of excitement today late in the day on a Friday, and very thankful for that.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. I think you hit on a lot of critical things there. And just to double tap one of them, one of 2 companies globally, on the entire planet. That's pretty special. And I don't think people really recognize how powerful that is.
Exactly.
Yeah, how amazing that is. I want to go back to you really quick, Jesse, on a couple of these points here. And I'm putting myself in the shoes of an accredited investor that's out there and is like, wow, this stuff is amazing. One of 2 companies globally, the impact that you guys are able to do, from kind of an operations perspective or not, how is that impact able to be driven while also hitting returns for investors and hitting things like that? And we probably should have started off with our disclaimer real quick, Dr. Van. I apologize for that, but we'll make sure that we disclaim that obviously this is an investment. Every investment has risk. Nothing is guaranteed. We'll share a disclaimer at the end. But Jesse, I'm curious your thoughts on that, and then Dr. Van will probably go back to you again on that. So
yeah, I think at the end of the day, the argument of sort of doing good and doing well, right? That the perception is, well, it's really difficult to do, and if you're looking specifically at low income housing, right? No, there's not a lot of money. Where are the returns coming from?
Right, exactly.
I think that all of that is really a lack of, I think, market education. This is something that Proactive is also doing above and beyond. So when we're working with residents, we're also looking to educate the market. Part of obviously the benefit of this type of series. There's actually a lot of value that is generated, a lot of sort of financial value, right? That when you look at low income housing, this could be either a tax basis specifically, right? There's a lot of tax advantages that, and actually there's some more recent legislation, right, that allows different depreciation strategies that, you know, an accountant, you know, could go through. But looking at it from the tax side, there's returns that can be generated, but also the sort of recipe that we've sort of honed over the last couple of years, identifying areas that, to one of the examples that Dr. Williams just referred to, where it was, you know, an area that, you know, a couple of weeks away from being demolished, or it's got all these legal issues or whatever. We go into this area, we identify the problems, we, you know, remove a lot of the major issues, whether it's you know, human related or regulatory or whatever it is. We go in, we essentially invest low or sometimes zero, because sometimes the land is given to us from either other investors that we work with or local governments that we work with. We go in, so we buy super low. We know exactly where to invest, where to put the money, so that you drive a lot of positive change in that specific area. And then by doing that, you get the returns are significant, right? So it's how we're investing that allows us to get pretty significant above market rate returns, just in terms of our approach. But there's also more nuanced thing, maybe not nuanced, but other approaches. For example, and I think we mentioned this in the last podcast, the fact that Dr. Williams is a wholesaler, right? So we can acquire these properties for much lower and then sell them for retail, or they sell for retail that are sometimes, you know, 2 times the price that we bring it in. So it's the approach that we've taken that allow us to generate a lot more return. The fact that we're doing good, right, is critical, because that's really the ends, right, on what we're doing. But we figured out the means. And just the last thing to note, it needs to be sustainable, right? We need to do something that generates returns, that is predictable, that has a specific, you know, instruction, you know, built into it, so that it is sustainable. So we can just keep, you know, rinse and repeat on all the properties that we've identified.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that you hit on there, and I'm curious what Dr. Van, you know, has to say as well. But I think what people don't understand is what some of these properties look like when you guys go in there and when the team goes in there, and how you're able to keep rents as low as they are, but still expand on the equity and value as much and drive returns for investors because of how much you've turned these around. I think that's just so incredible in what you guys are able to do. Dr. Van, any thoughts kind of on that, sir, from you? I'm curious about that. You know, you're able, I think I've read a statistic before that rents are anywhere from 30 to 40% below market rate, but you're able to still drive incredible returns with the impact that you guys do. Like, anything to expand on that? Oh, sir, sorry. I think you hit mute real quick. Sorry about that.
Oh,
yep,
my
there
bad.
you go. Nope, you're good, sir. We got you.
So absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yes, you're absolutely right that we're able to be 30-40% below market rate. And a lot of that is, or not a lot of it, all of it is because of how we buy properties, how we approach properties, and how we approach impact. So we approach impact from a lens, and I'm just looking at some of my notes. We approach impact from a lens of with the intention. When we go into a property, we underwrite for our impact first and foremost. Is this a property that we can generate some significant returns? However, what is the impact? Are we able to be impactful here? What sustainable development goals is it that we can hit on? You know, how many lives can we change? You know, what's the sustainability here? So we first look at the cost savings benefit. We buy properties that are distressed, underwater. Prior to Ms. Gail calling me from UMH, prior to that call, I had a call with a gentleman who has a phenomenal deal in the state of Louisiana. That's like, you know, when he was telling me about it, I was like, oh, okay. And then he pulled it up and did a screen share. I said, wow. I said, this is just like a no-brainer. And, you know, he reached out, he scheduled some time today, and we spoke and talked about it. And I was like, okay, this is something we can create a lot of impact, some households, you know, sustainable, hit our sustainable development goals of number 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 10, and 11, and be sustainable long-term. We're not flippers. We go in with the intention of impact. And we hit it out the park for our investors because we buy properties pennies on the dollar, or as you were saying, the condition of the properties, that they are such that they've been featured on the news, or they've been blighted, or they've been experienced mismanagement, and just for lack of a better term, slumlords. And on our website, Proactive Sustainable Bonds, we have drone footage, and Jesse, I have some more footage to get over to you today. For our latest park that was featured, we were featured in the Chicago Tribune. Just not even on October the 27th, article came out. So that's how we're able to do it. We buy low, distressed. We make sure that that we have a really good moat for the investment. And as you were saying earlier, disclaimer is not FDIC insured, may lose value, and can consult our PPM. And we just really hit it out to park for accredited investors as a verified social impact fund.
Yeah, I think the important part there is the verified piece. I was having a conversation with a fund manager, I think a few weeks ago or something, and he was telling me about that they do a lot of impact. And I mean, I thought it was awesome. I thought it was incredible. But when I look at what his fund does compared to yours, sir, it's night and day. And I think, yes, they do impact, but it's not third party verified, like from a Morningstar, from a Sustainalytics or something like that, like your fund and your company is. I just think that's just incredibly, incredibly powerful for what you guys have been able to do. I don't think investors have a full grasp of what Morningstar Analytics and how powerful that is for your team and stuff like that. I'm curious, and I'm not sure who's better to answer this, but with that verification from Morningstar, are there benefits that your fund gets that someone who isn't verified by them have and stuff like that? I'm just curious on that. Yeah. How does that work?
So I was actually going to mention that. I mean, one of the other benefits to not just getting the validation, which helps us make sure that we are also following best practices, right? Both from a global perspective as well as impact. But it also brings us within the network, right? So the fact that we are, identified within Morningstar, we can essentially leverage the power of the Morningstar brand. So that when we're either speaking with companies doing sort of reach out, or companies will reach out to us, investors will reach out to us and say, hey, we saw that you were part of Morningstar, or there was, mention of Proactive with Morningstar. So it gives us access to, again, this global base of investors. Dr. Williams and I were just in Europe, right? We're going to an impact conference in Berlin. We were able to meet, other investors, other nonprofits, organizations that were there. And there was already the sort of broader global network that we can access. So I'd say the sort of relationship basis is one of the benefits. Outside of that, I would just assume just both credibility as well as keeping up with them. So every year, I think we're going to be looking to update our report as well on one of the funds. So it also just makes, ensures that we're on our toes continually, because we need to be, as sharp as possible, both for ourselves and obviously for our investor base.
Yeah, absolutely. When you guys are going to these conferences as well, Jesse, are you guys showing up and people are like, damn, those are the proactive guys right there? Or is there anything like that going on? I'm just curious, or what's that like? Because I know you guys go to a ton of conferences and you guys have a great representation and network out there. I mean, just for investors that are listening, like your guys' network is extremely impressive and vast. So I was just curious. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there were 3 separate occasions where I was talking with Dr. Williams and someone just came up to, Dr. Williams, how are you? We met at such and such conference, a year ago. So because Dr. Williams also speaks at a lot of these kids, not just attending. So the name and the face, and obviously Dr. Williams also has 2 books as well, three books as well as I'm on the co-author, and his second book just came out recently as well. So the branding is there. And then obviously, we do a lot of work and just speak constantly with other nonprofits around the country, both in terms of potential investments in different cities and states that we might invest in, but also the work that we do in the existing states that we're in.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dr. Van, probably a follow-up question to you, sir. I think if I got the numbers right here, I think 26 or 27 years total in real estate, the last 6 or 7 specifically as a fund manager. I mean, over 2.5 decades of experience just in real estate alone. You've seen multiple market cycles, bull markets, bear markets. You've invested through them all. I mean, your level of network that you draw on to help these projects succeed and help these deals succeed for your investors and whatnot. How powerful has that been over the last 20 plus years? And how do you draw on that of your network?
Wow, interesting question. Mostly through so conferences like LinkedIn, just staying connected. I have a list of folks that on Sundays now I have that I have in my notebook here, that I have a list of people. I'm a real big believer in connection, staying connected. So no one wants to be hit up to say, oh, this is what I'm doing now, or, you want to invest, or, you want to hear about my idea, or, I need some advice. People want to know what you're doing, how you're doing it, where you've been doing it. And so I'm a really big, and I'm a really connected type of person, just naturally, even before I had my doctorate degree in psychology. So one of my practices is every Sunday is I have a list of people, and it's growing, that I just text happy Sunday to, and that's it. I'm not looking to start a conversation or talk about work. But for me, it's staying connected and leveraging networks to be a blessing, as well as, you don't want to just be looking for a blessing. You got to get out and be one first. Get, like they say, get your seed in the ground, so when you need something, it'll come to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a follow-up question to that. And I know we're getting close to 5 o'clock Eastern now, or 4 o'clock Central, and it's Friday afternoon, so we'll probably have to wrap up here in a minute. But when you look at the last 26 plus years of being in the industry, someone with your experience of operations, of doing deals and driving great returns for investors, like, what do you think is the biggest one or two things you've learned in the last 26 plus years that sets you apart from other fund managers out there?
How important it is. Okay, you mentioned during all sorts of markets, and that's not to toot my own horn here or to be a big deal, is one of the things I learned. Okay, so couple quick things. One of the things I learned before I was doing a lot for investors is when I would invest for myself personally, I can remember that during that market, 2007, 8, that whole thing, the stock market was in the toilet, that sort of thing. Okay, fast forward. When I went to make investments or look at my portfolio or my self-directed IRA, I looked and says, okay, I'm gonna invest in this mutual fund, or maybe I'll invest in, depending on what the strategy is. And one of my main drivers of the decision was, how did they fare in this 2007 and 8 market? That was my barometer. And so fast forward to proactive, during COVID, those were our best years. And of course, we aren't happy that they had COVID. I lost a brother to COVID, end of 2019, to which is now, they had no name for it. We clearly realized it was COVID. However, during COVID 2020, excuse me, I'm just thinking a little too fast. We were able to hit it out of the park for our residents. We were like 10x on impact, 3-4x to investors. We didn't stop with our payments. We were able to be consistent, and we just had a lot of support, because when you look at it, just let's be realistic. When something happens, who is the government going to help first? The Class A folks or the low income folks?
Yeah,
it's the low income folks. So state of South Carolina, we had a lot of support for our residents. A lot of residents received like 18 months of real assistance. And the reason why is because our rents were low and it was affordable. Now imagine being in California, with $3,000 a month rent, or being in a Class A area of South Carolina with $2,500 a month rent. It's not going to happen. So what I've learned is that the social impact of low income affordable housing is a bellwether. If you do it right, you can go in, you can make some money. However, more importantly, there's a lot of impact, a lot of lives change, a lot of outcomes that are sustainable, a lot of energy efficiencies. Another thing I learned I'd like to add to that today was this. I learned that in our manufactured home communities, we have a meeting next week with a provider, and this is someone who, and your network is also your net worth. That's what I also want to say, because when I met with Sam today, Sam Landy, sitting at the breakfast table, we were scheduled to meet like 20-30 minutes, turned into 2.5 hours. We look up and the room was empty. It was just he and I there. And
Yeah.
and he also brought his notebook. He does a notebook thing too. And so we were talking, but I met a guy who works with UMH Communities for solar. So as
Mhm.
part of our sustainability, they have solar shingles now that's going to power a manufactured house. The manufactured house with the power, you plug in your electric vehicle. They're going to take the cost of electric cars down to zero on charging, because with a site built house is one thing, but when you have solar shingles and solar installations and energy efficiencies pre-installed in the factory, which is quick, you can have in 4 to 6 weeks with no waste. Just a lot of sustainability that you can bring the cost of owning an electric vehicle down to near zero as it relates to that part of it. So I've learned a lot. So I said all that to say I've learned a lot. I'm excited, and I've learned that the investor is always king and the impact is always king. And both of those two can coexist, that both are equally, if not more so important, especially as it relates to the impact side, and to be good and transparent and accountable to your investors.
Yeah, I think that's incredible, and I think it hit on a lot of really important things there. I want to go back to you, Jesse, real quick before we get ready to wrap up here. But I think one of the keys that Dr. Van hit on there, and you've talked about it too, but just his decades plus experience investing through multiple cycles. Myself as an LP, when I'm looking at an investment opportunity, my very first question is, how many cycles have you invested through? How many cycles have you led companies through and stuff like that? What are your thoughts on that with your background in finance and stuff? I'm curious.
With my personal background, I have about close to 20 years now. Started in banking, doing M&A advisory. Yeah. So really started in working with companies at really at the C level, helping them identify strategy and competitive analysis, etc. In terms of just from my own investing experience, it's been, obviously through 2008 as well, which was a massive time. I wound up going back to school. I did my MBA in international finance in 2009. And then from there, ultimately, the last 10 years, along with supporting, working at Proactive and really leading a lot of the investments, or identifying and working to validate a lot of this information. I've also, on the side, did consulting. So looking at both in investing and strategy side, it's been, again, so the two things come together. I think the last thing to note, and this is, I guess, more on par of this conversation, the impact drives the returns, because we're in an area where, as Dr. Williams noted, there's a lot of innovation that's happening in this space. And because of all that innovation, there's a lot of cost savings that's sort of not locked in, but you captured, I guess, unlocked in a lot of these affordable houses, these mobile home parks and manufactured homes. And so the area is very exciting, right? Because we're looking at these pieces that drive greater returns because of all of these pieces that come together, right? So the impact piece to it is really the driver moving forward. I don't know if that answered your question, but just in terms of just following, I think, on some of the notes that Dr. Williams had mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it definitely answered it. And, Dr. Williams, said it himself, impact never sleeps. It turns 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's exactly what this company is doing to change communities out there, to change people's lives, to save people's lives, and to create an amazing investment machine for many accredited investors out there. So every Friday, it's a pleasure to get on with both of you gentlemen. I know you guys are extremely busy. The Proactive team is working 7 days a week. And I can't thank you guys enough for taking your time out of every Friday to jump on for 20, 30 minutes, especially, for people who will watch the recording. And then we will also cut this up and post it across all your social media platforms as well for you, Dr. Van. But really quick as a closeout, gentlemen, last Friday note for the audience. Anything to close us out with, Dr. Van? How should people get a hold of you? And then what are some best wishes for the weekend, sir, as we head in?
Well, first and foremost, Veterans Day. For Veterans Day coming up, it's not just a holiday for, it's to honor our veterans. It's not just to pull out a barbecue grill. It's people who are passionate about our freedoms. So I'm very thankful for that. So I just want to give a shout out to the veterans. I had a grandpa who earned a Purple Heart. He was in the Korean War.
Wow.
His brother,
Really?
Uncle Dorsey, was also in the Korean War. My grandpa was in the Korean War. My other grandpa on my mom's side. So just very thankful for that. I'd like to say, for those who are interested in investing, we have targeted returns. Our website is sustainablebonds.com. We're running a special right now, a bonus 5% for those who invest in the next 5 days on whatever return tier for the first year only. As we have a lot of rapid housing projects coming up. We have some phenomenal things. We accept investment from DAFs, something we hadn't even spoken about previously, but I've had a couple DAF organizations hit us up. So from DAFs, self-directed IRAs were approved for that. Institutional and accredited high net worth individuals, as well as retail accredited investors. We're really excited. We have short durations, 2 years, 3 years. Again, we have targeted above market rate returns. Need to see PPM for full disclosures. They can email invest@sustainablebonds.com. Our website, sustainablebonds.com, or 1-800-626-2089. Again, 1-800-626-2089, a direct message. Or they can reach out to Jesse, our director of investments. And happy Friday, everyone.
Absolutely. No, we cannot thank you, gentlemen, enough. Again, flying around the world, conferences every other week. Dr. Van, I think you spend an average of only 2 to 3 days a month at your home in Las Vegas, and you are abroad the rest of the time. Am I accurate there, sir?
Like month.
Yes, you're super accurate there. And the other thing is that aside from the fund, we also have carve outs. So sometimes people are like, well, I'd like a specific property or a specific area. So we do have that available to answer your question. Yes, I'm usually home just a few days a month, or maybe on average, if you have to average out, about 5 days every 6 weeks or so, because I'm on the road. And we also have our nonprofit Proactive Impact Foundation, proactiveinitiatives.org. And we're waiting on our final approval for our application to Impact Capital Managers, which is a really big deal, something we're super excited about. We went to an event that they have with a lot of collaboration. Love the impact space, love the synergy. Okay, Jesse.
Sorry, just for a sense of completeness, the other, I think, fund to note is we also have a QOZ fund, so
Yes.
institution fund, which, again, it's another example of an area that can drive a lot of investment because of government, regulation that's come in that incentivizes investors to invest in these areas around the country. There are hundreds of incredible opportunities that we're looking at now as well. So we work with investors who are interested specifically in opportunity zones, and so another one of our fund opportunities is the QOZ fund as well to note.
Awesome.
And then just in terms of, outside of the invest at Sustainable Bonds, my email is jesse@proactivefunds.com as well, if anyone wants to reach out.
Awesome. Yeah, no, thank you to both of you gentlemen. Again, for everybody out there watching the recording, we'll be cutting this up. We'll be sending it out on Dr. Van's email list next week. And please reach out if you have any questions, any follow-up questions, and we'd love to get those answered for you. But other than that, gentlemen, thank you. Have a blessed weekend. And yeah, God bless you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, and happy Veterans Day.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right.
Thanks. Bye.
And the bill, you all.